Yes, I'm rocking. Third time I'm trying to do this video. The first two times I got about halfway through and I realized I'm just ranting. Like I'm not actually passing on any cognitive thoughts. I'm just ranting. So I stopped and regrouped. So I did. I just took a little walk around, mellowed out, and okay, let's try to get this out in one shot. The new Dodge Charger. You knew I wasn't going to leave this alone, right? You knew I had to say something. So for the last year or so, they've been throwing little tidbits and snippets about, the new electric Charger. And all right, and we actually did a couple of videos. We did a video on it. I went back about a year ago. So day before yesterday, Dodge finally releases their video, their preview, their premiere, whatever you want to call it, video for the new Dodge Charger and the Charger Daytona. All right, so let's talk about the video first. Now, if you haven't seen this, you should probably stop here, pause this video, go to Dodge, their channel, and watch that, because you have to see that before you understand what I'm saying here. All right, the level of cringe was off the chain. The whole thing was so it was Tim Kuniskis, however you pronounce it, Tim, and the Dodge brothers going for a CGI ride, swooping around and drifting through like a warehouse. It was weird. It was just weird, okay? Talking about the new Charger. And all right, so cringe is in the eye of the beholder, okay? So to me, this was cringe. It was cringe. And what's especially cringe to me is the Dodge brothers themselves. The idea of putting words and ideas in the images of historic dead figures, I don't know, there's just something that, there's just a real lack of class there. But that may just be me. But that's besides the point. It's Big Tim, and he's extolling the virtues of the new Charger and explaining to the Dodge brothers why they should get behind this, why they should love this thing. Jeez, just cringe off the map. And the thing about that is that now when Tim, with that last name Kuniskis, when Tim did the video for the introduction of the Demon, I was impressed by that. So I thought that the introduction, the video itself, was like way over the top. It was way overdone. But his part, where he comes out and he describes the car and its virtues and its acceleration, and he conveyed that he got it, he understood. And I was impressed by that. I was like, man, this guy is cool. This guy gets it, right? Even though I'm not a fan of the modern Mopar era, I'm still a Mopar guy. So it's like, yeah, this is cool. I'm connected with him on this level. He gets it, right? And it was the exact opposite of what I saw with this Charger video. Tim, how much do they pay you? How much do they pay you to do that video that you did? I don't want to go on with this. I want to talk about the car itself. And before I talk about the car itself, I have to always throw this disclaimer out. This is not about not liking EVs. This has nothing to do with my dislike for EVs. I've said it 1,000 times, I'll say it again. The electric vehicle, on its own merits, I'm fine with it. It's the car being forced and legislated, the EV being forced and legislated into our world. And the fact that we're not prepared for it. We don't really want it. The people don't really want it. And we're not really prepared for it, but it's being forced down our throats. A technology that is not ready for public consumption yet. So that's where I have a gripe with this. But in and of itself, I don't have any problem with the electric vehicle. It has to be understood. And specifically here, I'm only talking about the Charger on its own merits. All right, so let's talk about the good, the kind of okay, and the weird, okay, the out there. Because this is more than just, in my mind, this is more than just a car. This whole thing is representative of the decline of our civilization. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But first, let's talk about the car itself. And I'll talk about the good, okay? So here's the good. In my opinion, I think the car is gorgeous. I think the stylists hit it out of the park with this thing. The car is beautiful, really, from every angle. It's very unique. I mean, you've definitely got the Charger flavor, you know, but it's unique. And it reminds me, I may be the only one who sees this, I don't know, because I haven't seen anybody else mention it, but in my mind, I see, it looks to me like the stylists got their inspiration from the 1968 Charger 3 show car. So this was a concept car that made the show car rounds in 1968, and it was Dodge's futuristic version of the Charger. And it actually later on became a funny car body. Al Vanderwood, the Flying Dutchman. But that's a whole different thing. So the Charger 3 was a concept car, futuristic Charger concept car. And it looks to me like the stylists kind of took that inspiration from that shape, that car, and made it to be a practical car, right? Something that was beyond show car, something that could actually be produced and used. So yeah, I see that lineage, and I think the car is absolutely gorgeous. But again, it's my opinion. The interior, it's a bit boy racer for my taste. I like a more subdued interior, but it's okay. You know, looks wise, this thing's gorgeous. Available in 2-door and 4-door. All right, so that's the positive. That's the good. Now here's the I'm on the fence about. The Charger is available in 2 versions, gasoline and electric. So the gasoline version is called, please help me, the 6-pack. So what Dodge did, was it took the twin turbo Hurricane 6, that inline 6, the one that they're using in the Grand Cherokee now, and they're using that in the Charger, and they're calling it the 6-pack. Because you know what? It's 6-pack is the only name, image, idea, wording from the color from the golden era, from that 1969 through 71 Mopar period that they're stuck in eternally, it seems. 6-pack is the only one that hasn't been used yet. So why not? Call it the 6-pack. All right, I'm nitpicking. So, of course, there are no more Hemis, and this twin turbocharged inline 6 takes the place of the 6 of the Hemi. And on the surface, this is good. It makes good power. It makes a lot of power. But during a preview, as Tim, his last name, Knuskus, as Tim is talking about the Hurricane 6, the 6-pack, he says, it feels like it's always spooled. Well, guess what? Because it is always spooled. Because it's a little motor moving 4,000 pounds of car through the wind, right? Yes, it's always spooled. It's always working hard. And this is one of the problems this is a big problem that's going to come over the next few years, when the current crop of very overworked little motors, like the EcoBoost, the Ford EcoBoost, they got like a half-a-liter engine moving a 9,000-pound pickup truck. These things are completely overworked. It's like taking a poodle and pumping it full of steroids and adrenaline and having it go do the work of a Rottweiler. Yeah, you know, it'd be vicious for a few minutes until it just flat out falls out, right? These little engines are way overworked. There's nothing new about making big power out of little engines. The technology and the parts have been there for decades. 50 years ago, Formula One engines, they were getting 1,100 horsepower out of 91 cubic inches. 50 years ago. So there's nothing new under the sun as far as making big power from little engines. But those are race cars, and they're used only in very specific circumstances, and they're taken care of constantly. They have teams of engineers and mechanics that are constantly working on these things and refining them, keeping them maintained. They're only used in that environment. They're not set out there all wound up and pressurized to go out into the world and fight traffic and climb hills and do stop and go and no. These things are doomed. They're going to lead short lives. So yes, brand new, and for the first 2-3 years, probably up until about the time that the warranty period starts to I feel terrible for the second and third owners of these cars. Would I, if I was inclined to buy a new Charger, would I buy one with the six pack? It's a nice car, I gotta tell you, it's a nice car. But I wouldn't buy it as something to keep. I would buy it as something I'm gonna keep for a year or two, right? So it's something I'm gonna lease. I'm gonna lease it for a year or two and then pass it on because I know it's a mountain of trouble coming down the road. Unfortunately, the average person doesn't think that way. And like I said, I feel terrible for the second and third owners of these cars. They are truly disposable. But that's not where the problem, not even a problem, the weirdness. And like I said, this is more about the decline of our civilization than it is about a car. But this car represents pretty much everything that's wrong today. So the things that are being touted on the new Charger Daytona, the electric one, all of its features are bogus. They're featuring the bogusness of this. Things that are synthetic, that are real, that are not real, they're artificial. Things that try to make this car not what it is, or appear to be not what it is. They're not allowing this car to have the dignity to be what it is. It's an electric car. Let it be an electric car. The Fratzog chambered exhaust. Why? Why do you have this? What low IQ segment of the population are you going after that considers this to be, oh, it's fine, it makes engine noises, it must be like an engine car, an internal combustion engine car. It's bogus, and it's one of the main features of this thing. Now let's talk about power, okay? Let's talk about power to weight. So the Daytona, the electric version of this car, is available at two different power levels. One is like 475, one is like 675. There's like 200 horsepower spread between them. But the car weighs 6,000 pounds. It weighs 6,000 pounds. It's like 2,000 pounds heavier than the six-pack version of it. 675 horsepower, and I don't have a power speed calculator in front of me, but 675 horsepower and 6,000 pounds is going to be like a low 12-second, high 11-second quarter mile. That's way slower than the current offerings. And it's speed limited to 137 miles an hour. Now, I mean, I'm not a highway warrior, but there are some guys that like the top end stuff, right? But this thing, the current offerings are good for 200 miles an hour plus. This thing tops out at 137. A 12-second quarter mile, let's call it a high 11-second quarter mile. This thing is going to get wasted by the typical Tesla. I wonder if the Fratzonic chambered exhaust can play chicken sounds when it pulls up next to a Plaid. Because there's not even a comparison. The Plaid will suck this thing along in its wake. And then you've got these upgrades. The direct connection upgrades, which in the old days, I happen to have a direct connection catalog right here. I was thumbing through it while I was trying to like calm down so I could make this version of a video. And I was like thumbing through it and remember what the old days were like when direct connection meant that you could buy all of the parts for your big block, your small block, your Hemi, your Slant 6, you buy all these performance parts, and you buy the direct connection, the performance manual, right, that had all of these hand-typed notes, bulletins from the engineers explaining modifications that the enthusiast can make on his car and the parts that he can buy through the catalog here. And there's everything, you know, you need chrome valve covers, here you go. Do you need a block? Do you need an engine block for your 426 Hemi powered top fuel dragster? Well, here you go, right? And here on page 9, just looking at this. Yeah, 20 oversized Hemi block with heavy main web, right? That's for blown engines specifically. That's okay. That's the quality. That's the character of what the direct connection means. It's why this stuff is so sacred to us old timers, because this was really a direct connection between us and the factory, and we all wanted to go fast. The factory guys wanted to go fast. We wanted to go fast. Here's how we got together. It was awesome. It was a connection. Yeah, okay. So now they call it direct connection, but it's software updates based on the parts that your car already has. They need to call it direct extortion because that's what it is. That's what it is. Here, you know, there's stuff in your car that you bought that you paid for, but if you have to pay us money to use it. So you can pick up a couple of horsepower by paying them money. It's direct extortion. So that's, there's so much more to this. This is where I really started, I started going off on the ranting thing. So I'm going to try to take it back a couple of steps. So 6,000 pounds, it's not even close to the performance capabilities of a Tesla. And it's way overblown. Now, it's like I said, it's a beautiful car. It's a high image car. And Mopar tradition, current Chrysler, Dodge, Stellantis, the images, the colors, the names, everything that they take is from very specifically from the 1969 to 1971 period. The Scat Pack years. But the real Mopar performance heritage is based on cars that were extremely low key, just like the Tesla Plaid. The Tesla Plaid is actually very much like, it's in the head of the traditional Mopar performance car of the day. Because you go back to the days of the Max Wedge and the Street Hemi, the early days of the Street Hemi. You didn't know what was in that car. A Street Hemi car, even a race Hemi car, like an A990 car, looked just like a Slant 6 car. You didn't know what was in the thing unless you opened the hood. Chrysler would put small emblems here or there that the owner could just pop off real quick. So if you want to go vet hunting, you could have a lot of fun with that. But it was very low key. That was the thing about Mopar, right? Walk softly, but carry a big stick. That was Mopar. Now it's the exact opposite. Okay, now it's like, here's all the flash, here's all the gugas and the names and the gimmicks and the colors and everything, right? But there's that Tesla Plaid over there with the little Plaid emblem, and it's just gonna run away and hide from you. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Am I ranting yet? I think I'm ranting. Let's stop ranting. Let's get back to the features. So among the features of this thing is a power shop button. They put this thing on the steering wheel and it gives you a 40 horsepower boost for 15 seconds. All right, so I can understand limiting the extra boost, right, for 15 seconds. It probably has to do with battery degeneration or motor life or something like that. I mean, there's probably a reason for 15 seconds. But why does it have to have a button labeled power shot? Why does it have to try to emulate a nitrous thing? Again, see, trying to make the car something that it's not. The fratsonic exhaust, the faux nitrous button. Why not just have a detent at the bottom of the throttle that when you go to the floor, you push a little harder and you get your 15 seconds worth of oomph, right? Why the fake nitrous button? What low IQ section of the population are you going for here, right? The same thing with the transmission. It's got a shifter. It's got a transmission shifter in it, right? Why? There is zero mechanical linkage between anything on your hand and the wheels of the car. Everything's done electronically, 100%. Why does it have to have a shifter? Because they're trying to make the car something it's not. It's a fake thing. It's a fake shifter. They won't allow this car to have the dignity of being an electric car, right? Pretend that it's not, and it won't be. Right? This will make it good. Decline of our civilization. We're talking about the decline of the quality of our civilization. And then on top of that, dummy shifts. It has bogus shifts, right? So electric cars don't shift. They go, right, right, smooth, right? They hum, right? No, this thing goes, oop, oop, oop. It's like it's fake shifting. Because they want to make it feel like a gasoline car. They do everything they can to make this feel and sound like something that it's not. This is a car that has no dignity, put out by people who don't have any pride. Period. At the end, there's no pride there. It's all bogosity. And then you get to the idiocy, the lunacy, okay? It's like, so there are different modes. You can put it in different modes. There's a track mode, there's all the different modes, but one of the modes, and the one that they feature is the donut mode. Donut mode, okay? You put it in donut mode and it locks up one of the front wheels, and so you can donut. You can pivot around in a circle doing donuts. Donuts? Really? This is the street takeover crowd they're catering to. They're pushing this car, they're catering to the street takeover crowd. Literally, quite literally, the lowest denominator in the entire world of hot rods, muscle cars, drag racing, the lowest denominator, the street takeover crowd, the people who just did, and they do donuts, and they take over intersections, and the people gather around, and Mr. Darwin, come here, Mr. Darwin, look at the fun that we're having, and the bodies go flying. The street takeover crowd, they're the only ones who do fucking donuts. Is there no common sense? Is there no pride? Yes, in these days, direct connection days, the real Mopar days, yes, they promoted drag racing, they promoted street racing. They actually had several cars that ran out of the factory, that were factory supported. The Silver Bullet was one of them. There was factory supported street race cars. But that's street racing. That's a competition between two cars that happens in a desolate area with just a couple of people watching. And just they go in a straight line, and whoever gets there to run first wins. Okay, fine. It's not legal. It's outlaw-ish, right? They support it. But that's not street takeovers. Completely different thing. The donut mode? Come on. This is like, really. Okay, I'm ranting again. So it's not, in my mind, this isn't about the car. It really speaks more about our culture. And it speaks to where our culture is going. And it's a really bad place. The main things that are touted on this car, the features of this car, all point to its bogosity, it trying to be something that it's not. How do you do that? How do you sell a car? How do you sell a car and the features are there to give the impression that it's not what you're actually buying? It's not an electric car. It sounds like an internal engine car. It shifts like an internal engine car, right? And it does donuts like an internal engine car. And you need that Fratzog chambered exhaust, when you're doing the freaking donuts, because you have to have a bunch of noise. It's sickening. It really is. And honestly, I think in my mind, like from where I sit, it looks like Dodge is on its last legs. Down to, I think this is the last year for the Durango coming up. They killed the Challenger. So basically, they combined the Challenger and the Charger into the Charger. So now you get a 2-door Charger and a 4-door Charger. So they've got that one body left. And they got the Hornet. What the hell is that? Did they even, last year, 2023, they sold like less than 10,000 of these cars. Less than 10,000 Hornets. That's it. Less than 10,000 of them. It doesn't even exist. So right now, Dodge is down to the Durango, which is on its way out. It's got the Hornet, which never happened, never arrived, and it's got this Charger, and that's it. It's done. And this Charger is going to be rejected. So if you go back to their video, Dodge's video that we started talking about at the beginning of this one, it had, last time I checked, it had like 650,000 views, and I was reading through the comments. 100% of the comments are negative. What are you trying to do with this car? We don't want this. This is stupid. This is silly. This is cringe. Like literally, you got to go read the comments. I'm surprised they haven't turned the comments off, or maybe they will by the time that you actually see this video. Then also, YouTube turned off the dislike feature based on things that were happening the previous. So at any rate, they turned off there's some things you can't talk about on YouTube. Some words you can't say. But they turned off the dislike feature back then, but there are ways to see it. And from what I understand, this video is at like a 70% dislike. So it's like 70% dislike is a big deal. Read the comments. It's insane. I honestly think this is it. I think that this is, because they're not going to sell these cars. These cars are not going to have any street cred. They're not going to have any real enthusiast cred. I don't know who they're really going to sell. They're going to sell them to the street takeover crowd. I really don't see anybody else buying them. And people who are in the market for a performance electric car, they're automatically going to gravitate towards the plant. Serious performance enthusiasts, and they're out there. I don't see Dodge lasting very much with Stellantis, right? Seriously, just stop at this point. Consider it a mercy killing. Honestly, consider it a mercy killing. It's dead. The brand is dead. And so are the Dodge brothers. And you keep bringing them back. So, the thing is, right? So, in this Dodge video, the Dodge brothers are being taught, they're being convinced that this is the thing, you should support this is the future. And you're like, yeah, we get it, right? That sort of thing. You're putting words in their mouth. So, let me take my version of that, all right? Because if I was to conjure the Dodge brothers, and show them what they're doing with this car. I think they'd have a completely different reaction to it. I think they would be like, what the hell are you doing? Get our name off of that car. You ass clowns, we build cars. We build honest cars. We build solid cars that with real features that do real things. Get our names off that ass clown mobile, and that's what they would say. They would not see the virtue of a fake exhaust. All right, that's it. I got to stop now. 25 minutes, and I don't think I really started screaming very much. I think I kept it together. Proud of myself. I need a cigarette. I'll see you tomorrow.